The Grand Hall of the Galactic Confederation sparkled with light reflected off 1,000 different life forms. Some floated in bubbles of special gas. Others stood on mechanical legs. A few existed as patterns of light. All of them, the most powerful beings in the known universe, had gathered to hear what the humans had to say. Dr. Alan Wright wiped sweat from his forehead. At 52 years old with graying hair and tired eyes, he represented the best scientific mind Earth had to offer. Beside him stood Captain Samantha Kelly, her black uniform crisp and perfect, her posture showing the discipline that had made her the youngest starship captain in Earth's fleet. "Are you ready?" she whispered to Alan. He nodded, though his stomach felt like it was tied in knots. "They're going to laugh at us." "Let them," said Samantha. "We know what we've built." The room fell silent as the High Chancellor of the Confederation, an 8-foot-tall being named Zikathul, raised 3 of its 6 arms. Its skin shimmered with patterns that served as both language and emotional display. "The delegation from Earth may now present their achievement," said Zikathul. The way it said achievement made it sound like joke. Alan stepped forward, activating the holographic display he had brought. Above the center of the room appeared a perfect image of a ship unlike any the galaxy had seen before. It had angles that seemed impossible, surfaces that folded into themselves, and a core that appeared to both exist and not exist at the same time. "Distinguished members of the Galactic Confederation," Alan began, his voice steadier than he felt. "I present to you the USV Revelation, Earth's first 7th-Dimensional vessel." A strange noise filled the room. It took Alan a moment to realize what it was. Laughter. Each species had its own way of showing amusement. Some made sounds. Others changed colors. A few released smells. But the message was clear. They thought the humans were making a joke. The Viridian ambassador, a being with skin that shifted between emerald and sapphire colors, actually leaked methane gas, their species' way of expressing uncontrollable laughter. "Humans," the Viridian said, "your species has been space-capable for less than 2 centuries. You have barely mastered basic warp travel. And now you claim to have built a 7th-dimensional ship? Even our scientists with 10,000 years of experience have only theoretical models of such technology." More laughter filled the room. Alan's face grew hot with embarrassment, but he continued. "The Revelation operates on principles we discovered quite by accident. It doesn't try to move through dimensions the way other ships do. Instead, it," High Chancellor Zekathul interrupted, its skin patterns showing clear disbelief. "Dr. Wright, your species has only recently learned to harness the power of your sun. The mathematical understanding needed for 7D travel is beyond your comprehension. Your claims are either a misunderstanding of basic physics or a deliberate attempt to seem more advanced than you are." Alan tried to explain further, but no one was listening anymore. The gathered aliens had already decided that humans were either lying or confused. Captain Kelly stepped forward, her voice cutting through the noise. "We did not come here to be insulted. We came to announce a breakthrough that will change space. Travel forever. If you choose not to believe us, that is your loss." This only made the laughter louder. A small, floating creature drifted up to them and spoke in perfect English. "Young species often believe they have made great discoveries, only to learn that what they found was already known to be impossible. It is the way of the universe. Do not feel bad. In a few hundred years, you may understand enough to be embarrassed by today's claims." As the human delegation left the Grand Hall, whispers and more laughter followed them. Back on their small ship, heading home to Earth, the mood was dark. "That went exactly as expected," said Samantha, throwing her uniform hat onto a chair. Alan looked at the data pad containing all their research. "They think we're stupid children." "Let them," Samantha replied. "We know better." Back on Earth, in the vast Nevada complex hidden beneath the desert, Olivia Martinez watched the broadcast of the meeting with growing anger. Around her, 300 of Earth's best engineers and scientists also watched in silence as their life's work was laughed at by aliens. "Turn it off," she finally said. "I can't watch anymore." Daniel Cooper, sitting beside her, had a different reaction. The physicist was smiling, his blue eyes twinkling with something that looked almost like satisfaction. "What are you smiling about?" Olivia asked. "They just made fools of us in front of the entire galaxy." Daniel stood up and walked to the massive window that overlooked the main hangar. Down below, barely visible through special filters that made it possible to look at directly, sat the actual USV Revelation. Unlike the perfect hologram Alan had shown the Confederation, the real ship seemed to bend reality around it. It hurt the eyes to look at it for too long. "Let them laugh," Daniel said softly. "They don't understand what we've discovered." Olivia joined him at the window. At 34, she had given up a promising career, designing regular spaceships, to work on this project. Many had called her crazy. Now the entire galaxy was calling all of them crazy. "We're right, aren't we?" she asked. "The math works, the tests all worked." Daniel nodded. "We're not just right, Olivia. We're about to change everything." The next morning, the human delegation returned to Earth. They were met not with celebration, but with an emergency meeting. In the White House Situation Room, world leaders gathered to hear the report. President Eleanor Mason looked tired. As the first president to deal with alien contact 15 years ago, she had spent her entire time in office trying to earn Earth a place in the Galactic Confederation. Now she looked at Captain Kelly with disappointment. "They laughed at us? The entire Confederation?" "Yes, Madam President," Samantha replied. "They believe we're either lying or don't understand our own discovery." Eleanor turned to Alan. "And what do you think, Doctor?" "I think," he said carefully, "that they're about to get the surprise of their lives." The door opened and Daniel and Olivia entered the room. They carried with them stacks of data showing the results of the most recent tests. "The Revelation is ready," Daniel announced without introduction. "We've run every possible test. The 7D drive works perfectly. We can go anywhere in the galaxy in an instant. We can exist in multiple places at once. We can do everything we claimed and more." President Mason studied them carefully. "You want to prove them wrong?" "Yes," said Olivia. "And we want to do it now, before they have time to send someone to check on us." The room fell silent as the president considered this. Finally, she looked at Captain Kelly. "How soon can the Revelation be ready for its first real mission?" Samantha stood straighter, excitement breaking through her professional demeanor. 3 months to finish crew training and final preparations." Eleanor nodded. "Make it 2. I want this ship in space before the Confederation decides to come inspect our primitive technology." As the meeting ended, Daniel caught up with Alan in the hallway. "How bad was it really?" he asked. "Their reaction?" Alan sighed. "They think we're children playing with toys we don't understand. The Viridian ambassador actually suggested we might have accidentally built something dangerous and offered to send experts to help us dismantle it safely." Daniel laughed, the sound echoing in the empty corridor. "Perfect," he said. "The best. Discoveries always look impossible until they're proven, and we're about to give them one hell of a proof." 2 months later, as ordered, the USV Revelation moved from its underground hangar into the light of day for the first time. Workers covered, their eyes not just from the sun but from the strange way light bent around the ship's hull. It didn't look like it belonged in normal space because in many ways it didn't. The crew of 12 boarded with solemn ceremony. Captain Kelly led them, with Daniel and Olivia as chief science officers. The best pilots, engineers, and specialists Earth had to offer followed. Each had trained for years for this moment. As the ship rose silently into the blue sky, President Mason watched from a safe distance. "They laughed at us," she said to no one in particular. "Let's see if they're still laughing tomorrow." The USV Revelation hovered 50 miles above Earth, its strange shape catching the sunlight in ways that made it seem both solid and not solid at the same time. Inside the ship, the crew of 12 moved with purpose, checking systems that no human had ever operated outside of simulations. Captain Samantha Kelly floated in the command center, a circular room with walls that displayed the space around them. Unlike regular starships, the Revelation had no windows. Looking directly at 7th-dimensional space could damage the human mind. Status report, she called out. Lieutenant Frank Williams spoke from his station at engineering. His fingers moved across controls that changed color and shape based on the ship's needs. 7D drive core stable at 97% efficiency, Captain. All systems ready. Samantha nodded, trying to hide her nervousness. This wasn't just a test flight, it was humanity's chance to prove its worth to a galaxy that had laughed in their faces. She activated the communication channel to Earth. Mission, Control, this is USV Revelation. We are ready for dimensional shift. Miles below, in the vast underground complex in Nevada, Mission Director Grace Howard sat surrounded by the world's best scientists. Screens showed data flowing in from the ship. President Eleanor Mason stood behind her, watching silently. USV Revelation, this is Mission Control, Grace replied. All readings look good from here. She looked at the president, who nodded. You are cleared for dimensional shift. Godspeed. On the ship, Samantha turned to Daniel Cooper and Olivia Martinez. The two scientists had spent years developing the technology that made this moment possible. This is it, she said. Are you ready to change history? Daniel smiled. I've been ready for this since I was a kid drawing spaceships in my notebook. Olivia's hands trembled slightly as she checked her instruments one last time. The math is perfect. The simulations all worked. This will work too. Samantha addressed the entire crew. Remember, we are not just testing a ship today. We're changing humanity's place in the universe. She turned to Daniel. Begin the sequence. Daniel nodded and placed his palm on a circular pad. The ship's computer scanned his hand, then his eyes. Cooper. Daniel. Chief Science Officer. Authorization accepted. The lights dimmed as power flowed into the heart of the ship, the 7th-Dimensional drive core. Unlike regular engines that pushed ships through space, the 7D core worked on completely different principles. It didn't move the ship through space, instead it moved space around the ship in ways that bent the very fabric of reality. Drive spinning up, announced Olivia, watching her screens. Dimensional fields forming. The crew felt strange sensations as the drive powered up. Some felt like they were in two places at once. Others swore they could see through walls for brief moments. One reported smelling colors. That's normal, Daniel assured them. Our brains are trying to understand things they weren't designed to perceive. Outside the ship, observers on Earth and on monitoring stations throughout the solar system watched with fascination and fear. The revelation began to shimmer, like a mirage in the desert. Its outlines became less clear, as if the ship was both there and not there. Drive at full power, reported Olivia. Ready for dimensional shift in 10 seconds. Samantha took a deep breath. All crew, secure yourselves. We don't know exactly what this will feel like. On the main screen, a countdown appeared. 10, 9, 8. Across the solar system, instruments recorded strange energy readings coming from the ship. On Mars Colony, all electronics briefly failed. On Europa Station, 3 scientists reported seeing their own doubles for exactly 2.7 seconds. 5. In the Galactic Confederation monitoring station near Saturn, the alien observers who had been sent to help the humans suddenly became very alarmed. Their instruments showed energy patterns that should have been impossible. The humans have actually done it, whispered the station commander, its tentacles changing from blue to a panicked white. Alert the High Council immediately. 3, 2. On the ship, Daniel's fingers hovered over the final activation control. For Earth, he said quietly. He pressed the button. The universe seemed to hold its breath. For one perfect moment, everything was still. Then the USV revelation simply vanished. Not with a flash or explosion, not with any effect visible to normal senses. The ship simply ceased to exist in normal space. On Earth, in mission control, alarms blared as all contact with the revelation was lost. Where are they? Demanded President Mason. Did it work, or did we just lose 12 of our best people? Grace. Howard studied her screens, which showed nothing but static. We don't know, Madam President. According to our sensors, the ship doesn't exist anymore." The room fell silent. Then one young technician called out, "Wait, I'm picking up something strange. The ship, it's everywhere." Inside the USV Revelation, the crew experienced something no human had ever felt before. It was as if their consciousness had expanded in directions they had no words for. They felt stretched across vast distances, yet also perfectly still. The command center had changed. The walls still showed displays, but now they revealed things that human eyes were never meant to see. Colors that didn't exist in normal space. Shapes that seemed to fold in on themselves forever. Patterns that suggested meanings beyond comprehension. "Is everyone all right?" Samantha called out, her voice sounding strange even to herself, as if she was speaking both now and a moment ago. One by one, the crew responded. All were present. All were alive. And all were forever changed by what they were experiencing. "We did it," whispered Daniel, staring at his instruments. "We've entered 7th-Dimensional space." Olivia looked at her own screens, tears forming in her eyes. "It's beautiful. The readings, they're beyond anything we predicted. We're not just in 7D space, we're part of it." Samantha tried to focus on the practical matters at hand. "Can we navigate? Do our systems still work?" "Yes," said Daniel, "but not in the way we're used to. In this space, we don't move from point A to point B. We exist at all points simultaneously. We just need to focus on where we want to be more strongly present." Frank Williams reported from engineering, his voice filled with awe. "Captain, the drive is working at 150% efficiency. It's as if the ship is happier here than in normal space." Through special viewports designed to translate the impossible reality outside into something human brains could process, they saw the universe in a completely new way. They could see the strands that connected distant stars. They could see the threads of gravity that tied planets to their suns. They could see time itself, flowing like a river with eddies and currents. "Navigation systems are adapting," reported Lisa Peterson, the ship's navigator. Her fingers moved across controls that seemed to respond to her thoughts as much as her touch. I think I can take us anywhere. Literally anywhere in the galaxy." Samantha felt the weight of this moment. The Galactic Confederation had laughed at them, had called humans primitive and arrogant. Now her crew held power that the most advanced aliens had only dreamed of. "Take us to the edge of the solar system," she ordered. "Let's see how fast we can move in this state." Lisa nodded. Focusing on the heliosphere boundary now, the crew felt a brief sensation of stretching, and then the displays changed. They were now near Pluto, billions of miles from Earth. The journey had taken less than a second. "That's impossible," whispered Frank. "We just traveled farther in 1 second than our fastest ships can go in a month." Daniel checked his instruments, his eyes wide with excitement. "It's better than that. According to these readings, we're still also near Earth, and also in the asteroid belt, and also near Jupiter. We exist in all those places at once. We're in a state of dimensional superposition," explained Olivia. "We're everywhere and nowhere." Ship's sensors suddenly picked up something unexpected. A signal. Not a regular communication signal that traveled through space, but something that pulsed through the dimensional fabric itself. "What is that?" asked Samantha. Daniel studied the readings. It's a distress signal, but that should be impossible. Nothing else should be able to broadcast in this dimensional space." "Can we locate the source?" asked Samantha. Lisa worked her controls. "Yes, but it's strange. It's coming from a fold in space near the Viridian home system, about 20 light years from Earth." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The Viridians had been among the loudest to laugh at Earth's claims. Samantha didn't hesitate. "Set a course for the signal origin." "Course set," confirmed Lisa. "Ready to shift our primary focus to that location." Samantha looked around at her crew, seeing the mixture of fear and determination on their faces. They were about to journey, farther from Earth than any humans had ever gone, using technology that even its inventors didn't fully understand. "Let's go help them," she said, and show the galaxy what humans are really capable of. The USV Revelation shifted its dimensional focus, and the crew felt that strange stretching sensation again. When it passed, the displays showed an entirely new star system, with planets glowing green and blue around a yellow sun. Frank checked their position. We're in the Viridian system, 20 light-years from Earth in less than 10 seconds. Now, said Daniel with a smile, let's go find out who needs our help. The USV Revelation hung in space near the source of the strange distress signal. Through the special displays that translated 7th-dimensional reality into something humans could understand, the crew saw something extraordinary. A massive ship, trapped between dimensions, half in normal space and half somewhere else. What are we looking at? Captain Samantha Kelly asked, leaning forward in her command chair. Daniel Cooper studied the readings on his console. It's a Viridian colony ship, one of their generation vessels, but it's caught in what I can only describe as a dimensional pocket, a fold in reality. Olivia Martinez added, They must have been experimenting with some kind of new drive system. From these readings, I'd guess they accidentally brushed against the edges of 7D space and got stuck. Samantha frowned. Can they see us? No, said Daniel. Their sensors can't detect anything in 7D space. To them, we don't exist. The colony ship was enormous, over 3 miles long and shaped like a series of connected rings. Its green hull reflected the light of the nearby sun. In normal space, it would have been a magnificent sight, but here, caught between dimensions, it looked wrong somehow, like a picture that had been torn and poorly repaired. Life signs? Samantha asked. Lisa Peterson checked her screens. Lots of them. The ship's designed to carry up to 50,000 colonists. I'm reading about 700 life forms on board. They're still alive, Frank Williams added from engineering. But according to these readings, their power systems are failing. Life support is down to 27% capacity. They don't have much time left. Samantha stood and walked to the main display. Nearly 50,000 people were trapped, unable to escape, slowly running out of air and power. The same people whose leaders had laughed at humanity's achievements. Can we communicate with them? She asked. Daniel shook his head. Not while we're fully in 7D space. We would need to partially shift back to normal space. Would they be able to see us then? Yes, Daniel confirmed. But we'd lose many of the advantages of 7D travel. Samantha thought for a moment. What about their ship? Can we get them out of that pocket? Olivia and Daniel exchanged glances. Theoretically, Olivia said slowly, we could use our drive to create a dimensional bridge, something like a tow line, but it's never been tested. The math suggests it should work, but it's dangerous, Daniel finished. We'd be connecting our ship to theirs across dimensional boundaries. If it goes wrong, we could end up trapped with them or worse. Samantha looked at each of her crew members. I want options. How do we help these people? For the next hour, the crew worked frantically, studying the trapped ship and developing plans. Finally, they gathered again in the command center. We have 2 options, Daniel explained. First, we could partially shift back to normal space, make contact, and try to guide them in fixing their ship from the outside. The problem with that approach, Olivia added, is that their ship is badly damaged. From what we can see, their dimensional drive exploded when they accidentally brushed against 7D space. They can't get themselves out. And the second option? Samantha asked. We use our 7D drive to create a bridge between dimensions, Daniel said. Essentially, we would tow their ship out of the pocket and back into normal space. But as we said, Olivia continued, it's risky. Our ship wasn't designed to move anything that massive. Samantha considered the options. How long do they have before their life support fails completely? Lisa checked her instruments. At current power consumption rates, about 38 hours. And how long would it take for help to arrive from the nearest Viridian outpost if we sent a message? At least 4 days, Frank replied. Their fastest ships can't get here in time. The decision was clear. Samantha straightened her uniform and looked at her crew. We're going to try the dimensional bridge. Begin preparations. As the crew moved to their stations, Samantha added, and prepare a message to send to Earth once we shift partially back to normal space. They should know what we're attempting. The next few hours were a flurry of activity. Daniel and Olivia worked to modify the 7D drive to create the dimensional bridge, while Frank and his engineering team reinforced the ship's structural integrity field. If anything went wrong, the revelation could be torn apart by dimensional forces. "Ready for partial shift back to normal space," Daniel finally announced. Samantha nodded. "Do it." The crew felt a strange sensation as if they were being pressed flat and then expanded again. The displays flickered, and suddenly the view of space looked more normal. Stars were just points of light again, not the complex webs of energy. They appeared as in full 7D space. "We're 70% in normal space," Olivia confirmed. "Enough to send communications but still maintain control of our dimensional position." "Send the message to Earth," Samantha ordered. Lisa activated the communication system. "Message sent. It will take about 20 hours to reach them at this distance." "Now let's contact that colony ship," said Samantha. Opening a channel to the trapped vessel proved difficult. Their communication systems were damaged and the dimensional pocket interfered with normal signals. Finally, after several attempts, a face appeared on the main screen. It was a Viridian, its skin shifting between shades of green and blue, a sign of extreme stress in their species. Its large eyes widened even further when it saw the humans. "This is impossible," the Viridian said in the common galactic language. "No ships were in this sector when we became trapped. I am Captain Samantha Kelly of the USV Revelation from Earth. We detected your distress signal and came to help." The Viridian's skin flashed rapidly, their equivalent of shaking their head. "Earth vessels cannot travel this far, and no ship could detect our signal through the dimensional anomaly." "We can explain later," Samantha said firmly. "Right now, you need to know that we're going to attempt to free your ship. We can create a dimensional bridge to pull you back into normal space." The Viridian was silent for a moment, its skin cycling through patterns of disbelief and hope. Finally, it said, "I am Chief Navigator Zilnar. Our colony ship, the Verdant Promise, was testing an experimental fold drive when something went wrong. We've been trapped for 47 days. Our power is failing." "We know," said Samantha. "We need you to power down all non-essential systems and retract any external structures. We're going to create a field around your ship that may cause some stress to your hull." Zilnar's skin showed patterns of caution. How did you find us? How did you get here so quickly from Earth?" Samantha smiled slightly. "We used our 7th-Dimensional drive." The Viridian's skin turned almost white with shock. "The technology your scientists claim to have invented, it was real, very real," Samantha confirmed. "And right now, it's your only hope. Please prepare your ship as requested. We'll begin in 1 hour." After the communication ended, the crew of the Revelation made their final preparations. Daniel and Olivia worked at the drive controls, making minute adjustments to the dimensional field equations. "If this works," Daniel said quietly to Olivia, "it changes everything. Not just for us, but for the entire galaxy." Olivia nodded. "And if it doesn't work?" Daniel looked at the massive colony ship on the display. "Then we've still done something that no one else could even attempt. We tried to save 50,000 lives across 20 light-years from Earth." The hour passed quickly. Zilnar confirmed that the Verdant Promise was ready. All non-essential systems were powered down, and the colonists had been moved to the central sections of the ship for safety. "Let's begin," Samantha ordered. Daniel activated the modified drive system. The lights dimmed as power flowed to the 7D core. Outside the ship, energy patterns formed, visible even in partial normal space as shimmering waves of blue and purple light. "Drive at 85% capacity," reported Olivia. "Dimensional bridge forming." The crew watched as tendrils of energy reached out from the Revelation toward the trapped colony ship. Where they touched the dimensional pocket, reality itself seemed to ripple and bend. "Bridge connected," Daniel announced, his voice tense with concentration. "Beginning extraction sequence." The Revelation shuddered as the drive strained against the massive weight of the colony ship. Warning lights flashed across engineering consoles. Structural integrity field at maximum, Frank called out. Hull stress increasing. Drive temperature rising beyond safe limits, added Olivia. We can't maintain this for long. Samantha gripped the arms of her command chair. Give it everything we've got. Just a few more minutes. On the main display, they could see the colony ship beginning to move. Slowly at first, then faster, it was being pulled from the dimensional pocket back into normal space. It's working, Lisa exclaimed. With a final surge of power that made the lights on the Revelation flicker and die for a moment, the Verdant Promise broke free of the pocket. The dimensional bridge collapsed as both ships now existed fully in normal space, as emergency power came back online and the lights returned. The crew of the Revelation looked at their displays in amazement. The colony ship floated peacefully in space, completely free of the dimensional trap that had held it. We did it, whispered Frank. We actually did it. Samantha opened a channel to the Verdant Promise. Zilnar's face appeared, his skin cycling, through colors that the translator identified as profound gratitude and religious awe. You saved us, the Viridian said simply, when no one else could have. 2 weeks after the rescue of the Viridian colony ship, the USV Revelation appeared in Earth orbit. It didn't arrive with the typical flash of a normal ship dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Instead, it simply faded into existence, like a photograph slowly developing. In mission control, alarms rang as sensors detected the ship's return. Grace Howard leapt from her chair, her face lighting up with joy and relief. They're back. She shouted to the room of tired scientists who had been monitoring space for any sign of the Revelation since its disappearance. Get the president on the line. Within minutes, President Eleanor Mason stood in mission control, watching the main screen where the Revelation now orbited Earth. But the human ship wasn't alone. Beside it floated the massive Viridian colony ship, its green hull gleaming in the sunlight. What is that? The president asked, her eyes wide. Grace checked the incoming data. It appears to be a Viridian colony vessel, Madam President, and according to these readings, there are nearly 50,000 life forms on board. The communication system crackled, and Captain Samantha Kelly's voice filled the room. Mission Control, this is USV Revelation requesting permission to bring our guests into stable orbit. Permission granted, Captain, Grace replied, still staring in disbelief at the alien ship. What happened out there? It's a long story, Samantha said, the smile evident in her voice. But I think our friends from the Galactic Confederation might be interested in hearing it. The Viridians certainly were. 3 days later, the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Confederation was filled beyond capacity. Representatives from every major species had gathered on emergency notice. At the center of the room stood the human delegation, Captain Kelly, Daniel Cooper, and Olivia Martinez. Across from them, High Chancellor Zach Thul's skin displayed patterns of confusion and respect, a combination rarely seen on an Arcturian. We have gathered, the Chancellor began, to hear the report of the Earth vessel Revelation, which has accomplished what many believed to be impossible. The room was silent, no laughter this time, no whispers of disbelief. Samantha stepped forward. 2 weeks ago by Earth time, the USV Revelation activated its 7th-Dimensional drive for the first time. We successfully entered 7D space and discovered capabilities beyond even our own predictions. Daniel continued. While in 7D space, we detected a distress signal from a vessel trapped in a dimensional pocket, a Viridian colony ship called the Verdant Promise. At the mention of the Viridian ship, the Viridian ambassador's skin flashed with patterns of gratitude and humility. It was the same ambassador who had laughed the loudest at Earth's claims. The colony ship had been testing an experimental drive, Olivia explained, using simple terms that all species could understand. They accidentally touched the edges of 7D space but couldn't control it. Their ship became trapped, with nearly 50,000 colonists on board. Samantha looked directly at the Viridian ambassador. We used our 7D drive to create a dimensional bridge and pull the Verdant Promise back into normal space. Then we helped them return home. The Viridian ambassador floated forward. Its skin displayed formal patterns of utmost respect. "What the humans have told you is true," it said. "Our most advanced colony ship was lost. All aboard would have died when life support failed. No one in the Confederation could have found them, let alone saved them. But the humans did both." The ambassador's skin shifted to a pattern that the translator identified as formal apology. "We mocked their claims. We laughed at their supposed achievement. And then they saved 736 of our people using the very technology we said was impossible." "Hi." Chancellor Zekathul raised 3 of its 6 arms for silence as excited conversation broke out across the chamber. "Captain Kelly," the Chancellor said, "the Confederation officially acknowledges Earth's achievement in creating functional 7th-Dimensional technology. We also express our gratitude for the rescue of the Verdant Promise." The Chancellor paused, its skin showing patterns of curiosity. "But we must ask, how did humans succeed where others with thousands of years more experience have failed?" Daniel stepped forward. "We approached the problem differently. Most species tried to force their way through dimensions to break through barriers. We instead created a system that exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously." Olivia added, "The breakthrough came when we stopped thinking of dimensions as places to travel through and started thinking of them as states of being that could overlap." The technical explanation continued, with Daniel and Olivia taking turns explaining the basics of their discovery. Throughout the chamber, scientists from various species listened with growing excitement, their translator devices working overtime to convert complex concepts between languages. When they finished, the Arcturian High Chancellor's skin displayed a pattern never before seen directed at humans: deep respect. "Earth has achieved something remarkable," the Chancellor announced, "and in doing so, has proven itself worthy not just of membership in our Confederation, but of leadership in scientific advancement." In the days that followed, 17 different species sent delegations to Earth, all requesting access to 7D technology. The human leaders met to discuss how to respond to this sudden change in humanity's status. In a meeting room at the newly established Dimensional Research Center in Nevada, President Mason sat with Samantha, Daniel, Olivia, and other key figures. "We could keep this technology to ourselves," the Secretary of Defense argued. "It gives us a tremendous advantage." Daniel shook his head. "That would be a mistake. The principles can be discovered by others eventually. Better to share the knowledge and build goodwill." "But not give everything away at once," added Olivia. "We should propose a joint research institute where all species contribute." President Mason considered this. "What do you think, Captain Kelly? You've seen how this technology works in practice." Samantha thought about the vast possibilities of 7D space, about worlds that could now be reached in seconds rather than years, about problems that could be solved by viewing the universe from an entirely new perspective. "I think we didn't succeed because humans are somehow better than other species," she said slowly. "We succeeded because we looked at the problem with fresh eyes. Without the burden of thinking, we knew what was impossible." She looked around the year. "Tortor. If we share what we've learned but also remain open to what others can teach us, imagine what might be possible." President Mason nodded. "Then that's what we'll do. We'll propose a galactic institute for dimensional studies here on Earth, open to all member species of the Confederation." 3 months later, the first ships from across the galaxy arrived for the inaugural symposium on dimensional physics. Scientists of all species gathered in the massive new facility, built alongside the Nevada complex. At the orbital docking station, Admiral Samantha Kelly, newly promoted, stood at a viewport, watching the ships arrive. Some were beautiful, with flowing organic lines. Others were strange geometric shapes that human minds struggled to process. All carried brilliant minds eager to explore the new frontier that Earth had opened. Olivia Martinez joined her at the window. "They're not laughing anymore," she observed. Samantha smiled. "No, now they're listening, and so are we. That's how it should be." Daniel Cooper approached, carrying a data pad. "The Arcturian team just arrived. They've brought some fascinating theories about applying 7D principles to energy production." and the Viridians have some ideas about using dimensional overlaps for healing damaged tissues. Samantha looked out at the stars. No longer distant points that would take lifetimes to reach, but neighbors in a suddenly smaller galaxy. "This is just the beginning," she said quietly. "Yesterday we could barely reach our own solar system's edge. Today, we can cross the galaxy in seconds. Tomorrow?" She shook her head in wonder. "I can't even imagine." As if to answer her, a new ship appeared in orbit, not fading in like the USV Revelation, but emerging in a spiral of golden light. It was unlike any vessel they had seen before. "What is that?" asked Olivia, staring in wonder. Daniel checked his data pad and smiled. "That's the Luminary, from the Eldar Collective at the galaxy's core. They've been observing us from a distance for centuries, but never joined the Confederation." "Why are they here now?" Samantha asked. "Their message says they've been waiting for a species to discover dimensional resonance on their own," Daniel replied. "Apparently we're the first to do it in nearly 50,000 years. Samantha watched as the golden ship moved gracefully into dock. "So even the oldest species in the galaxy has something to learn from the newcomers." "Exactly," said Daniel. "The universe just got a lot more interesting." As the three humans watched the ships from across the stars gathering around their once lonely planet, they felt a sense of pride not in conquering or dominating, but in bringing something new to a galaxy that had seen so much. Earth had found its place among the stars not through force or fear, but through innovation and courage. The galaxy had laughed at Earth once. Now it was learning from the very people it had mocked, and humanity in turn was ready to learn from the stars.